All right. So today we're going to talk about Frank Ntilikina, also known as Frankie Smokes, the franchise, which I've never heard that name before, but according to Basketball Reference, some people have called him that. Also known as the French Prince. All right, so we're going to talk about Frank today because the rumor mill has put out there in the universe that Frank Ntilikina is penciled in as the starter by Coach Tom Thibodeau or the organization, right? So this is odd to me. The timing is odd. I'm not for sure. I'm not certain why they would do it at this time, but I have some views on it, and I'll get to those in a minute. But I want to get to the reason why I think the front office maybe has leaked that, so that put that out there. So here's my reasoning behind it. I think this may be a ploy to let other teams in the NBA know that Frank, while being Frank is a valuable piece to the organization, right? But I think they more so did it so that when teams come a calling for valuable assets, such as cap space, draft picks, or whatever, the Knicks won't look desperate. And I think this is a smart move by the organization, and I'll tell you why, and I'll use an example. So if you remember, like junior high, we were all in that awkward phase, you know what I'm saying? Like not knowing when to be cool enough and not knowing when to kind of back off some and show some humility or whatever. I like to use the junior high dance as an example, right? So you go to the junior high dance. You want to dress cool, but not overdo it. You know what I'm saying? You want to be cool, but not overdo it. So the DJ plays a song, right? It's your song, it's one of your jams. Just whatever your jam is, whatever type of music you like, just imagine that the DJ played your jam, right? You want to get out on the floor and dance, but you don't want to do like those awkward dance moves like your uncle tried to show you, like in the living room at like the Christmas party or something like that. You don't want to do that. That's too much. You like, Uncle Rico, calm down, man. It's not that serious. You don't have to, sweat. You don't have to be balling down with sweat after one song, right? So the DJ plays your song at the junior high dance, and you want to get on the floor and you want to do your thing. Right. That's what the Knicks are. The Knicks have assets. So we want to get out there and do our thing, but we don't want to overdo it. But our song is playing. Right. So the Knicks want to get out there and do something. At the same time, the girl that you had a crush on all year is giving you the look like she wants you to come ask her to dance. And you want to ask her to dance. But you don't want to go over there and be all over the top and do something you'll regret. You don't want to be the guy 47 years old thinking about, what you did at the junior high dance when you were 12. That's 35 years ago or whatever. Right? So the Knicks pencil in Frank Ntilikina as the starter and leak it to other NBA teams, knowing that other NBA teams know the Knicks may be interested in veteran point guards, and you know who they are. You know who the list is. Do you give up draft picks to get Chris Paul? You know Oklahoma City wants to trade him, but do you give up draft picks to get him? No. That's why you say you have Frank penciled in as the starter. You can go to Oklahoma City and say, nah, man, we're okay. You know what I'm saying? We like what we have, do you want to give up multiple first-round picks and multiple years drafts for Russell Westbrook? Houston is dying to do something. Mike D'Antoni is gone. Daryl Morey may be as well. You never know. The dude is super smart. He may be able to transform that roster depending on what the new coach needs. But at this point in time, we don't want to appear to the Houston Rockets to be desperate. So we tell them, no, we're okay. We have Frank Ntilikina penciled in, at point guard. The Utah Jazz are going to say, hey, we don't want to give you draft picks. We want to just give you Conley for Randall. I mean, sure, we give you a bunch of salary in the short term, but in the long term, Conley's contract will be coming off the books at the, next summer or at the end of next season. And so you'll be like, no, I really want draft picks. If you don't give me draft picks, plural, multiple draft picks, and I mean first, like give me a first in 2020 and maybe a first in 2024, 2025, then I'm not looking to do the deal because we have Frank Ntilikina penciled in at point guard. Do you overpay? Like when you talk to Fred VanVleet's agent, do you look, he's going to say, listen, Fred is close to being a max player. And you're going to say, what? Fred VanVleet was the fourth best player on the championship team. And the agent is going to say, listen, how many championships have you won? Fred has won a championship. And you can back up. Hey, man, listen, we're okay. We have Frank Ntilikina, penciled in, at point guard. And sure, some teams will laugh at that notion, but it gives you a stance. It lets teams know that you're not desperate, right? Who else? Another point guard, Terry Rozier. Charlotte's going to say, hey, Rozier is an energetic defender that shot 40% from three. Aren't you looking for a young point guard that is, energetic on defense and can spread the floor? Well, we know Terry Rozier is not the, what do you call it? He's not what you call a very skilled offensive player. He shot a career high. I think 40% was his career high this year. But we're not looking to give you Julius Randle and first round picks for Terry Rozier. We're okay. We have Frank Ntilikina penciled in at point guard. And so teams will laugh at that notion and say, hey, listen, why are you saying, are you serious? You're going to bring in a new coach? You shook up your organization. Y'all going to take our step head in this new direction with Frank Ntilikina at point guard? Well, here's the thing. And I won't get into the pros and cons yet, but I will outline some facts. So here's a fact. Frank Ntilikina shot 86.4% from the free throw line, right? And so automatically, Knicks fans will be, well, let me do this. Okay. So when I mentioned all that stuff about Frank Ntilikina, right? Not like hey, we're okay. We have Frank Ntilikina. There are two sides, right? There's a Frank hive that says, hey, we need to be patient with Frank. And then there's a side that can't stand Frank and want to ship him out of town. And I don't fault the fans that want to ship Frank Ntilikina out of town, right? So, because here's the thing. Frank hadn't really developed at a lightning pace. Frank hadn't even developed at an average pace over his 3 years in the NBA. And Knicks fans want a point guard that's going to lead them to a championship. They're ready. Knicks fans are ready to be a contender. And excuse me, and not today. They're ready to be a contender yesterday. Knicks fans are not patient, right? And they've been super patient with Frank Ntilikina. And you're telling Knicks fans, we're going to hold off on the championship until we develop this guy. And I know that guy hadn't developed at the pace that we want, but let's continue to be patient with him. That's the anti-Frank side. The pro-Frank side is this. You listen, when we drafted him, we knew he was a project. We knew that. When we drafted him, he was a guy designed to go in Phil Jackson's triangle. Right? We knew that as well. Right? We knew it would take some time for him to develop. Right? Frank Hivers say, all we do is trade away young point guards. You can, and That's a statement of fact and not conjecture, because we traded away Michael Ray Richardson. I don't know if you're old enough to remember, but Michael Ray Richardson was a 6'5" point guard, had all the skills in the world. He just couldn't get himself together in New York, right? We traded away Rod Strickland. And I know that is a sore topic for some of you guys that remember when Rod Strickland was traded away. We traded away a young Mark Jackson. We traded away Jerry Grant. We traded away. It doesn't matter. All we do is get a young point. Whenever we draft a young point guard, we look to trade them away immediately, right? And so the Frank Hive is like, enough. Enough is enough now. The last great point guard we had for an extended amount of time, sadly, Clyde Frazier. Basically, if you're looking at a point guard that played in New York for about 7 years at a high level, Clyde Frazier. Walt Clyde Frazier. Right? So now, they're not assuming that Frank Ntilikina is going to be Clyde Frazier, but what they want to do is take a point guard and groom him and have him be the leader of our franchise. Stop going out and getting these recycled tread guys that stay for 2 years, become malcontents, and either leave in free agency or we have to trade them because the rumor mill is worse than their subpar production on the court. Right? So I think this is a smart ploy. This is a smart thing. Regardless what side of this you're on, if you just address, the rumor that the front office says, hey, listen, Frank Ntilikina is penciled in as the starter. If you just address the source for what it is, I think it's a smart move by the front office. That way, so we don't look desperate. The fans that hate Frank and want to get him out of here on the rail understand, because it makes us not look desperate. And the Frank Hive, the ones that love Frank more than Frank itself, can understand, because you've given the guy a shot. Now you told Frank he's penciled in as the starter. Now he can use this offseason in order to work on those things that he has been deficient at. Right? So if we want to talk about those things that Frank was deficient at, let's do that. Let's talk about the cons of a Frank Ntilikina being the starting point guard of your New York Knicks. All right. So the first thing is, as of today, even though the signs point to him getting better right now, he's not a great shooter or floor spacer, right? He's not going to make defenses pay when they leave him open, or at least that's been his history, right? So I'll talk to you about some numbers, or put some numbers out there just so that you'll understand where I'm coming from. So last year, and I know this is going to seem odd, but last year, Frank Ntilikina played the lowest minutes per game of his career. Year 1 was 21.9. Year 2 was 21. Year 3 was 20.8. Something to think about, right? But at the same time, Frank Ntilikina shot a career high 39% from the floor, right? He shot a career high 32% from three, right? So he shot career high 44% on 2-pointers. So 2-pointers, he shot about 44%, right? But his free throw percentage is 86%. Year 1, 17-18, he shot 72%. Year 2, 2018-2019, he shot 77%. Year 3, 19-20, he shot 86%, right? On a career high 6.3 points per game, right? His turnovers were a career high 1.2 as opposed to 1.7 and 1.3 in previous years, right? So when you look, and also his assist total. So his production on the floor increased in less minutes, right? But let me also say this. Frank Ntilikina looked extra confident is the word was without the word I'll use for Frank now, because if you look at certain games this year or last year, I'll say last year, Frank looked extra confident getting into the pick and roll. There was a little wiggle to his pick and roll. The handles are tighter. You can't say Frank Ntilikina had elementary school handles anymore, because Frank has above average NBA handles, right? And one thing I'll point to, if you remember the Houston Rockets game at home, the first game, Leon Rose was team president when it became official, sans the rumors and all that stuff. When Leon Rose was actually anointed the guy, everybody knew it. It was official. He was in the house next to Scott Perry. Frank Ntilikina looked to sauce up the Houston Rockets. And it was one of the most intriguing. It was one of the most fun moments of my Knickhood, because he looked like a guy that was just trying to, in years past, he looked like a guy that was just trying to execute his handles, not get ripped, just get into a play, hurry up and get the ball out of his hands, so that he can go to a corner and maybe chuck up a three and hurry up and get back on defense where he excelled, right? Frank had plays where he looked James Harden, and James Harden is the league MVP. I don't care if you guys say that James Harden doesn't play defense. That doesn't matter in my mind, right? What matters in my mind is Frank Ntilikina looked James Harden in his eyes and sauced him up and threw up shots. Now, with that said, all of those shots were bricks. I watched every one of them. I watched one of them was so bad it clanged off the side of the rim, but you couldn't help but see the confidence in Frank's face. And I'm here to tell you, if one of those bricks had gone in, that where Frank sauced up James Harden, this conversation that we're having right now would be totally different. There wouldn't be any Frank Ntilikina is penciled in as the starter. The conversation would be Frank is inked in as the starter, right? And I know you guys assume how do you can't just off of one shot, Uncle Freezy. Let's be reasonable. And listen, reasonable minds can disagree, but what I want you to imagine is this: those days where a few things in a day that go your way. Imagine what that does to your confidence. Like you work on as a kid, you work on a project and you wind up making like $40. So you're like, dang, man, I got $40. And then the same time your pops is like, nah, man, you ain't gotta ride the bus to school today, man. You ain't gotta walk. You can take the car. And you're like, oh man, pops is letting me get the car too. Man, this is crazy. And then when you get to school and you park in the parking lot, you park next to, and this is random, but you park next to one of the cheerleaders on the team, right? And then she's like, hey man, listen, I've been meaning to talk to you, man. I think I've been noticing you here lately, man. I feel like you're a pretty cool fella. And so your confidence, like these three things happen like in a row. And your confidence begins to grow. And then while you walk with this girl, having like the most impromptu conversation of your young life, like all the dudes that used to give you hell are looking like, oh, snap, he walking with a cheerleader. So all these things are like falling in line. And this goes back to now you're at the school dance, and that girl that you're looking to is that cheerleader that you talk to, and the DJ is playing the song that you like, right? And you're kind of in your bag right now, right? So now you're like, all these things fell into place for me. Now my confidence is sky high. Now those things that were hard for me to do are not so hard because I'm confident that not only can I do it, that I can do it well. Now when Frank Ntilikina sees a James Harden that he sauced up, he might try it again. Now when he sees average NBA guards, can you imagine what the sauce is going to be like? If he can sauce up James Harden, the league MVP, just imagine what he'll do to random NBA guard USA on like a Tuesday night. You know what I mean? So these things they fall into a certain sequence and they build this player's confidence, right? So anyway, let me get into the pros and cons of Frank Ntilikina being the starter of your New York Knicks. I'll start with the cons first, right? And the reason why I start with the cons, because they're stark. His pros and cons are stark. There are no like these facts. There's no like if Frank's shot is on, then he's such and such player. There's no scenario like that, or there's no Frank. If Frank can do such and such, he might be a triple double threat. There's none of that going on here. These pros and cons are stark. Each are at separate ends of the spectrum, right? So here goes. So con number one is Frank's scoring / floor spacing, right? So to be honest with you, so the Knicks are relatively poor at floor spacing, but Frank right now is not a floor spacer. And even though I mentioned the fact that free throw shooting is an indicator of how good a shooter you will be in the future, right now Frank is not a confident shooter, scorer, passer, right? So even though he's at 86-87% from the free throw line right now, and next year it'll probably jump to say 91-92% based off of his career arc and trajectory. And to deny that from Frank would be salty or crusty on your part. When you saw Frank go from a 72% shooter to an 86% shooter in 2 years, if you deny Frank that, you're just one of those folks that just hate Frank Ntilikina. Because basically what he did was improve. You saw his handles improve. You saw his free throw shooting improve. And so to deny that from Frank would be just, not reasonable. But anyways, Frank is right now, or from what we've seen in the past, Frank is not the person that's going to spread the floor, right? He's not going to be the guy that's going to knock down these open threes yet. He hadn't shown that he can do that, right? So here's another con. Frank getting the team into consistent offense. I hadn't seen Frank, get the team into consistent offense. I hadn't even seen Frank maintain a level of offense. I don't know if he is a playmaker or the playmaker type that we're looking for right now at the point guard position. Right now, the wave at point guard is point guards that stretch the floor. They either do it by excellent ball handling at the point of attack, where and excellent passing, where defenders have to be locked onto their man, because if they turn their head, the point that guard can hit that man in stride for open look. I don't think Frank is that guy yet. If you take out lobs, I don't know if Frank is really going to be a high assist guy just yet, because he hadn't proven it. So here's the third con, and this is the most important. Is Frank a leader? I don't think so. I don't see Frank being the leader. And you want your point guard to be the leader of your team, or at least one of them. When your squad goes, say, 5 trips down the floor, no baskets, no free throws, and a bunch of bad shots, is Frank gonna go to someone and be like, hey, get your ass in gear. We call the play. Don't break this play off. Is Frank going to be the guy that's going to put his foot in somebody's ass? Right. If, for instance, Knicks down by 11 with 7 minutes to go. Is Frank Ntilikina going to put together 5 or 6 trips down the floor where you get pretty good looks, pretty good shots up? Right. The alphas are going to want to step up because it's crunch time. The Marcus Morrises are going to be like, no, we're not running this play. I can beat my man and get us a bucket. Is Frank going to go to Marcus Morris and be like, hey, run the damn play like we draw it up? Or I'm going to get you off this floor. Is Frank going to be that guy? Is Frank going to be the guy that can take his man off the dribble and go get that bucket? Take that 11-point lead and get it under 10 points with 5 minutes to go, so you can manage the game. I don't think Frank is that guy yet. I just don't. I don't think Frank is that guy that's gonna put his foot in people's rumps so that they can, players will listen and believe in Frank, because that's what you need at this point. And your point guard, you want a guy that you can believe in. Like, if I run this play just like we drew it up in practice, the way we practiced it for an hour, is Frank gonna get that is Frank gonna get Kevin Knox that ball in the corner wide open so Kevin Knox can get that wide open corner 3 when we need it? Is Frank that guy? Right now, I'm not for sure. There is no proof that he's done it, that he has the ability to do it. So with that said, the cons were like a wet blanket for Frank Ntilikina being a point guard, right? But here are the pros, right? So Frank has shown progress over the years. Whether you want to believe Frank has gotten better or not, I can point out things that Frank Ntilikina has gotten better at. And you would say, well, that doesn't mean that much, but they mean a ton. So thing number one that Frank Ntilikina has gotten better at is ball handling. Frank was a terrible ball handler when he entered the league, right? He was the one that I'm just going to hurry up and get it across the 8-second line and pass it to somebody, right? Now Frank is saucy. Frank can handle. Not only can Frank handle, but his handles, I'm not going to say elite, of course. You listen, there are outliers like Kyrie Irving and guys like that, Isaiah Thomas, guys like that have exceptional handles. But Frank has a good handle. Frank's handle is good. And don't knock Frank's handle because of what you saw 2 years ago. If you're a Knicks fan and you watch Knicks games, you see Frank's handle is much improved, right? So that's one thing, right? Here's the free throw shooting that I pointed out, right? So his free throw shooting has improved by 14 points in an era where if you shoot high 60s, that's good. Frank is an 86, 87% free throw shooter. He's gotten better over the years. Give the man his just due. Give him his credit. Right? Oh, I forgot one. Okay, so I forgot one of Frank's cons. Let me go. The other con I got for Frank, just real quick. I'm sorry for getting out of order. But the last con for Frank was Frank stayed injured. Can Frank Ntilikina stay healthy? Can he stay healthy? He misses a ton of games, right? Every year, Frank's got some kind of soft tissue thing going on. Something. I'm sorry, that's the third con. I'm sorry. I'm doing this video. I'm a Knicks fan. I get excited doing this, and sometimes I get out of order. Y'all just forgive me. I just like putting out content so that we can all, talk about whatever. But yeah. So Frank's cons are leadership, injuries, and not being a playmaker. So not being a playmaker, injuries, and leadership were his cons. So his pros, pro number one is improvement. So Frank was basically a body of clay that the organization has gotten, and they've improved Frank every year. Like, you've seen his body transform, and you've seen tangible things like free throw shooting and handles improve for Frank, right? So improvement overall improvement. You've seen that. So that's pro number one, right? So pro number two is defense, right? So we all know that defense is Frank Ntilikina's calling card, right? We've seen Frank switch on to. I've watched games where Frank guarded Jeff Teague, switched to 3-4. I saw in one possession down the court, I saw him switch from Jeff Teague to Robert Covington to Taj Gibson to Karl Anthony Towns on the same possession. That's amazing. And not only switch, but hold it down. I mean, these guys were not gonna. There was no mismatch. Like Karl Anthony Towns was not gonna go by Frank Ntilikina, right? Jeff Teague was not gonna muscle Frank Ntilikina. Taj Gibson was not gonna shoot a three over the top of Frank Ntilikina. Robert Covington was not just gonna go by Frank and dunk on him, right? Defense is his calling card, and we need that in the NBA because the league is loaded with offensive-minded playmakers that look to score from 30 feet. As soon as they get to 30 feet, they're a threat, whether it's by pass or three-point shot or lob to a perched big man, right? So Frank's pros are improvement/development, great defense, and here's the last pro, and I think it's mighty slept on, and it's one that should be food for thought for Knicks fans. Team chemistry. If you go back and watch the Memphis Grizzlies game where the youngsters were on the floor together, I think one of them dove for like a loose ball and saved a possession, and you could see the joy in the youngsters' faces when all the youngsters do something good. They do something good. They play as a unit. They play harder for each other because they have this thing called team chemistry. And a lot of teams don't have it. And if you could take that team chemistry from that young Knicks core and give it to the LA Clippers, I think the LA Clippers would still be in a bubble today. Because you can't just take a team of players, just throw random guys on the court and say, go do it. You know, people say, oh, yes, you can. You can. They're professionals. They get paid millions of dollars. No, you can't. Nope, you can't. You can't just take a bunch of people, throw them together and say achieve a goal. You have to develop some chemistry, right? So I saw Kevin Knox throw a lob to RJ Barrett, and the joy on Kevin Knox's face when RJ dunked that ball was tangible. It was palpable. You could feel it as a Knicks fan watching it on TV. That these cats like playing with each other. You know, Dennis Smith Jr. and Frank like playing together. RJ Barrett, as a matter of fact, Dennis Smith Jr. came out and said it. He loves being on the court with Frank, right? And RJ Barrett said it in an interview. He loves playing with Frank, being on the court with Frank, right? So it's one of those deals where you know, you can go out and buy the most expensive all-star you can get, but none of that equals or has the impact of team chemistry, right? Team chemistry is a thing. That's why GMs say that you have to put a core of players together, because players have to want to play together. You know, through struggles, through the hard times, they want to have somebody that they like and can depend on playing with them. It is what it is. So listen, if you like what you heard, like this video, man, share it, subscribe to the channel, you know, share it with your people and stuff. Comment in the comment boxes below. Y'all know I love talking to y'all in the comment section. You know, I like to continue the conversation even after the video has been posted, right? Make sure y'all do that. Like the videos, share them on your socials and such. And even in the comment boxes, give me ideas on what you guys want to talk about. Again, this your man, Uncle Freezy. Just talking about these Knicks. Frank Ntilikina penciled in as the starter. Just wanted to throw a little something out there just so that we can continue to push the conversation forward. You know, I appreciate y'all. that'll be it for this video. I'll continue to comment in the comment section. Y'all know I love it. I'll holler at y'all. Peace.